NFL Week 7 power rankings. So number 10, I have the Baltimore Ravens staying where they are. Not a pretty game for the Ravens. They beat the Titans, but so far their offense, like I said, have been so inconsistent. They did not do good in the red zone against the Titans. Um, their defense continues to be good, but I think their offense is too inconsistent for me to put them any higher, and their defense are leaky at times. Number 9, I have the Cincinnati Bengals back on this list. They beat the Seahawks. Their defense played really well. I always thought they've had a good defense, but their defense has been playing really well. Their offense, I think, has looked a lot better. Joe Burrow has looked a lot better, and they beat a good opponent in the Seattle Seahawks. Then number 8, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars back on this list. Dominant win against the Colts. I think the Jaguars defense continues to look really, really good. Well, their offense is good, but not like great or anything like people um, projected coming into this year. But it's their defense playing lights out versus the Colts that put them back on this list. Number 7, I have the Buffalo Bills down a spot. Not a pretty game versus the Giants at all. Their defense played well, stopping the Giants in the red zone, but their offense was bad. Even in the second half, they only put up, 14 points. Josh Allen wasn't that impressive. The run game, they abandoned the run game. It was just not a pretty performance. I feel like we've seen too many of these bad offensive performances by the Bills for me to put them any higher. Number 6, I have the Dallas Cowboys up a spot. A good win over the Chargers. Their defense held strong near the end, and their offense looked good. Dak Prescott looked good. CD looked good. Their offense, I think, has looked better now. Their defense continues to be very good. So I do have them at 6. And Chargers are not a horrible team. Number 5, I have the Dolphins staying where they are. They beat up a very bad team in the Panthers, but it didn't really show much about the Dolphins. We know their offense is really good, and we know their defense is really lackluster, especially evident by those 14-point deficit they were in the first quarter. But their offense really makes up for that. And number 4, I have the Philadelphia Eagles down 2 spots. Like I said, the Eagles' offense has just not been playing well, and Hurts has not been playing well, and that came to fruition when you saw them against the Jets. Hurts threw 3 picks. Swift had a fumble. Eagles' defense has played good, but not as good as last year. The secondary is still kind of iffy finding their way. Defensive line is good, but Eagles, they have to figure their things out. Offense has just not been good enough, and their defense secondary is all same. And even though the Eagles are 5-1, there are some 5-1 teams like the Dolphins. Um, the Eagles, they have to figure it out. They have not looked impressive. And then number 3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs staying where they are. Not a pretty win versus the Broncos, even against the Vance Joseph defense. The Chiefs' offense has not figured it out. They need to find out wide receiver 1. But the Chiefs' defense has been straight lights out, and that's keeping them in the top 5 because their offense clearly has not looked good. But their defense has definitely looked like a great unit, shutting down a decent Broncos offense. So I still have the Chiefs at 3. And number 2, I have the Detroit Lions up 2 spots. Another week, another great blowout win by the Lions. Um, they beat the Bucks, who is not a bad team. Their defense has done a 180. They look great now. They shut down the Bucks offense. But like I said, the Lions offense has not been great this season, not as good as they were last season. Whereas Bucks do have a good defense, but the Lions have only put up 20 points versus the Bucks. And Goff was good, surgical, but their running game, I'm worried about their running game without Montgomery. I know they have Gibbs, but offense could be better. But I think their defense has just looked great this season. And then teams that dropped out, you have the Seattle Seahawks and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Seahawks, they lost to the Bengals, and Geno Smith, he did not play good. He had like 2, 3 interceptions, and they were shut out in the red zone. But Seahawks defense to me has been playing a lot better, but their offense has just declined since the first 3, 4 weeks. Buccaneers, they lost to the Lions, and Buccaneers, their offense has looked good at times and then looked bad at times. Same thing with their defense, though, I think has looked really, really good. But it's their offense. I don't know how much I trust Mayfield, but both the teams I think have questions on their offense, so I'm dropping them out. Number 1, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, they lost to the Browns, but I still think San Francisco is probably the best defense. I don't believe they had any big defensive injuries. They still have Fred Warner. They still have Hufanga. They still have Greenlaw. They still have Nick Bosa. Their offense, it's slightly concerning to me. With Debo McCaffrey and Trent Williams out, and they did play a very good defense in the Browns, and they had a chance to win. So I do still think that San Francisco 49ers are the number 1 team in the NFL. So there you have it, my NFL Week 7 power rankings.